short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
Lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
And welcome into the Thursday, September, 8th?
Yes, sir.
2020 edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. As promised, my partner Tim Jones is with us today. Mr. Speaker, how are you?
I'm doing great, Chris. Hello, Katie. I'm live from the great city of Indianapolis in Indiana, and fantastic day over here. I'm sure the weather is just the same over there, but yeah, I'm here for a conference with Americans for Tax Reform and the Republican Legislative Leadership Committee. I think I got that right. Yes. So
you took a pause there, Tim. I thought maybe you were a little choked up over the news that was announced about an hour ago that the Queen of England, Queen of Great Britain, the monarch, the Queen, passed away in her sleep, surrounded by her family. Big news today.
It is, Chris. I am actually a little melancholy today. She was an incredible leader, 7 decades on the throne. And if I had planned more appropriately or knew this was going to happen, we probably should have had my wonderful wife Suzanne on today, who is a huge Anglophile. She knows much more about the royals and all of the dynasties, and she's watched the entire Crown series.
Wow.
Suzanne got up as a young girl and watched the wedding of Charles and Diana in the middle of the night, and so she could tell you a lot more than I can. But I look at this. The United Kingdom is from whence we came, right? I mean, we have a very close relationship with the UK. They're our strongest allies, and whether you agree or disagree with vestiges of things like a monarchy, the UK is a massive colonial power. We have to say that Queen Elizabeth really was she was a portrait in grace. She really was. And I really respect her for all that she has done, for being somebody who embodied patriotism, the utmost patriotism for her country.
You know, this is truly the end of an era, not just for the British people, because they're losing their 70-year monarch. But if you remember, she's been around since World War II. She didn't get to the crown until 1952 and become queen, but she was very active during World War II. She was in the British Royal Army, I think, or Navy. She actually repaired Jeeps. When she was in the service. She spoke to the nation as a princess during the World War. And if you really think about it, Tim, she's the last real leader that is left over from the World War II era. She's the last one. Everyone from Churchill to FDR to Truman, they're all gone now.
Think about the massive generational change, to your point, that occurred over the last 7 days. Chris, not only have we lost Queen Elizabeth II on this planet, but Mikhail Gorbachev passed away less than 7 days ago. So Gorbachev gone, Ronald Reagan, of course, many, many years ago, and now Queen Elizabeth. There is a haunting photo making the rounds on the internet, and it's almost as if the Queen waited to pass away until the new prime minister was sworn in. There is a picture of the Queen shaking hands with Liz Truss at Balmoral Castle 2 days ago, kind of like, my lady, I hand this over to you, is what goes through my mind as I see this. And perhaps, Chris, as these iron ladies leave this earth and go to the great beyond, maybe Liz Truss will be that next generation of a fearless lady leader in the UK.
Well, we'll see. I'm holding my breath. I'm hoping that she's a strong leader. The previous female conservative leader was very, very bad. So I'm not trying to paint all female leaders as bad, of course, but I will hold my breath, and I hope that I hope that she
I hope
does
she's
well.
another Maggie Thatcher.
Exactly. The one thing about the British crown and monarchy and royalty always fascinates me, and I kind of delve into the rabbit hole of it a few years ago, is that all of these families in royal families in Europe, from Luxembourg to Denmark, Sweden, France, all of them, they're all related. It's amazing, and that's something that was done since biblical times. You marry off your daughter to the neighboring king, so that keeps peace. But you guys talked about it, Katie, prior to our show about the monarchy. King Philip or Prince Philip and Queen Elizabeth were third cousins once removed. They were related.
Crazy.
Yeah, they were
So
related.
crazy.
And his official duties were, I think he was like the Prince of Greece.
Nuts.
Yeah, but it's just amazing. All these European monarchies, they are all related by blood. It's really, there was always this rumor, and I think it was true, Tim, wasn't it, that because they were so inbred and married each other, that they became hemophiliacs and they had the bleeders disease?
Back in the day, there was a lot of that. And look, the reason for that was, I think we forget, as bad as the world, as bad as we may envision the world to be in this present day, let's not forget that we do live in an age of modern medicine and a massive amount of technology. We have many convenience and comforts. Back in the 14 and 15 and 16 and 1700s, they didn't have running water, much less all the things we had today. It was a very rugged existence. And European powers were constantly at war with each other. So one of the ways you brokered the peace, Chris, as you referenced to, you would have your lineage marry somebody. If you're in the UK, you sought for a marriage with someone in France, right? Or in Denmark, or in Sweden, or in Germany. And that is, you can either fight it out on the battlefield until the last man is dead, or you can do things a little more civil way with a civil union, with a marriage, and hope to broker a peace that way. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't, but that was the reason for all of that intermarrying between all these continents and these families.
And one thing too that's fascinating about the royal family too, currently they are known as the Windsor. There's Windsor Castle and Windsor family, but that's not their original family name. The British royal family is more German than they are British. During World War II, I can't think of the name, but their name of their house was a very Germanic sounding name, and because the monarchy in Great Britain was related to the what do you call the German leader? They were like first cousins. And so they were Germanic. And after World War I, after they were defeated, they changed their name to Windsor and got rid of the very Germanic sounding name that they originally had. But all that stuff is just always been very, very fascinating to me. Can you imagine just a life from the day you were born? You'll never have to work a day in your life, and people will be doting on you like you're Jesus.
Crazy.
Crazy. Well, unless you're Prince Henry and Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
He didn't want anything to do with it.
Well, okay, according to Meghan Markle, you can't bring home any brown babies into the royal family.
Did we
don't
figure
want
that out? Did we figure out? Honest to God, I asked this question last hour.
Yeah.
Did we figure out what was behind that rumor? Like when she said that to Oprah, she was very convicted in what she was saying.
Maybe
but do we know if that's true or not?
Maybe it's true. Maybe that's why she sounded so convicted. I don't know.
I don't know.
I find her to be the most pretentious, insufferable, arrogant, thankless person on the planet.
Tim, how do you really feel?
Let
her rip.
Look, Chris, when you're born into that family, I'm sorry, you got to take the good with the bad. And the good is that, like you said, you don't have to worry about ever losing a meal in your life. On the bad is you're going to have a lot of duties and responsibilities. And I'm sure that Queen Elizabeth II had to do a lot of things over the last 70 years that she may not have wanted to do, right? But she did it because she knew that she was the representative. The monarchy in the UK has become not necessarily, it's no longer a leadership in the sense of political leader, because that's now Parliament and the Prime Minister. but it is an embodiment of the people. She is the representation of a free people on the continent of the United Kingdom. So, she did a lot of things. The word that keeps coming to mind for Queen Elizabeth II is grace.
Mm-hmm.
She had the utmost grace throughout her life. She had to deal with a lot of personal tragedies and challenges of her own. And I just thought she kind of, and of course, she, at the age of 96, she obviously battled a lot of health conditions and illnesses. And I think she just did it all, with a lot of grace in hand. So all kudos to her.
I agree with that, Mr. Jones. And when we come back, we're going to talk with our good friend, Dr. Randy Tobler, about the news of the day. And there's a lot of news of today that we'll get to later on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1.
Between Highway 94 and Cave Springs, your crowded westbound 70 from US 61 to Route Z. Volume eastbound 270, 170 to New Florissant. Construction in the right lane eastbound 70 east of the Musial Veterans Bridge, backing up traffic into Missouri already. Your stop and go southbound 55 from 7th Street to Potomac, picking up volume westbound 64 from Hampton to McCausland. Bumper to bumper construction slowdown westbound 64 at Illinois 161, and an accident northbound 55 south of Illinois 140. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. A nice night tonight. Low down to 62. Not too humid for Friday, but warm, sunny, and 85 for the high. Now, Saturday's a little more humid, 82 for the high. There is a rain chance, about a 30% chance in the afternoon to early evening for an isolated thundershower. Sunday, 50% chance for a few showers. It's going to be humid and a much cooler day, though, with lots of cloud cover and a high of just 74 for Sunday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Free speech is alive and well in America.
Thanks for taking my call.
Right here.
My point about the governor there, it's absolutely about power.
I read this, I almost fell out of my chair.
News Talk STL.
This thing is just absolutely dripping with iron.
News, analysis, opinion.
Hi, Sean Long for STL FenceWorks. For over 50 years, our time-honored commitment to quality, service, and affordability make STL FenceWorks the go-to authority for fence, deck, and leisure space projects. During these unsure times of severe inflation and supply shortages, you can depend on STL FenceWorks to meet your needs. Being the #1 fence and deck contractor in the state, we've leveraged our position to make contract buy-ins hedging against price increases. Also, our buying power has allowed us to stockpile fence and deck material. There are no shortages at STL FenceWorks. In fact, we have more fence and deck material on hand now than we have had at any time in our 50-year history. Lastly, our commitment to a quality and customer-first approach has never wavered. Your project will be completed by experienced craftsmen in a timely manner, and our lifetime warranty reinforces that commitment. STL FenceWorks warranty surpasses anything offered in the industry. Visit stlfenceworks.com and allow us to bring your backyard dreams to life. As always, at STL FenceWorks, your satisfaction is our passion.
Do you live in West St. Louis County? Then you can get West News Magazine delivered free to your home just by asking for it. West News Magazine is the only print source for the political, school, business, and sports news happening in your hometown. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe or pick up a free copy at all area Deerbergs and Schnuck stores. West News Magazine. Anybody who wants it, gets it. Anybody who gets it, wants it. Subscribe for free today. Simply visit westnewsmagazine.com/subscribe.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
Thanks for being my voice in all this.
This is News Talk STL.
There are people out there that feel the way that I feel and say what I say.
Welcome home. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
About the death of the Queen and royalty. Well, we've got the king of Saturday morning radio on the line, and we'll talk to him next about what's going on in the world.
Gentlemen, we're about to enter the fascinating sphere of police work, the world of forensic medicine.
Truly, you have a dizzying intellect.
They're really criticizing science because I represent science.
I'm a man who discovered the wheel.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Doctor, give me the news. I got a bad case of loving you.
Dr. Randy Tobler, how are you, sir?
Doing well. Disappointed to hear that the Queen has died. I really am.
And
the
that's
passing of an era.
And that was going to be my first question to you. Give us your thoughts on the passing of the Queen and her legacy to you.
Well, I think it really hit me ultra hard today because I, first of all, had been reading stories about Steve Bannon and his brash approach and, the way he was indicted and arrested and just fighting and brash and rough. And then Donald Trump talking about the Lincoln Project, advertising on Fox News and calling them perverts and lowlife. And then I thought, Queen Elizabeth, grace, gravitas, dignity, resilience. We don't have a lot of that anymore, gentlemen. And boy, I wish we had it back. And I just think she's sort of emblematic, I think, of a passing of an era, of a generation that really knew how to be dignified when dignity is needed in a world that's so crazy these days. So that's my biggest take home from this. And of course, her family. I mean, look at the way her sons can't get along, and Meghan and her husband. It's just crazy, and it's just I yearn for a day. I want to wax nostalgic all day about a lady who was grand and gracious, as you guys just said. I couldn't agree with you more.
Dr. Tobler, yes, definitely grace and also toughness, right? And Dr. Tobler, this haunting photo that's making the rounds on the internet also, I think, gives us some feelings of optimism of barely 48 hours ago when Queen Elizabeth II shook the hand of the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Liz Truss. And quickly, this new Prime Minister has been tougher in one day than Joe Biden has been in 2 years. Dr. Tolbert, maybe we're going to have to just look to the UK for some leadership on the world stage, as she has said, no, I am going to scrap 2 tax increases that were proposed by the Tudor party. We're not doing tax increases. I think she says, boy, and talk about not being afraid of taking hits from the media. She said, it is fair to give the wealthy, the people who own businesses, who produce, it's fair to give more of their money back in the form of tax cuts. And she basically was channeling a version of Sarah Palin when she said, we need to frack and drill out our way out of the energy crisis and not continue to rely on Russian independence. I mean, echoes of Ronald Reagan right there. Do you think?
Well, echoes of Ronald Reagan. And I'm beginning to wonder if maybe Margaret Thatcher's been reincarnated. I'm not sure. I mean, it's really amazing to see her staunch conservatism so early on. I mean, without even testing the waters. And bravo for her. I mean, we need that kind of leadership, not only across the pond, but boy, oh boy, do we need it here. And she's a young woman who I think has a very, very promising career. I am just thrilled that there's some real hope here. So, do I understand? I've been learning about her a little bit. Was she a nurse, if I'm not mistaken, or I think she had some kind of healthcare in the past. But I don't know. There's a stiff spine to this lady, and she's really got at this time of change in this country where the monarchy itself is sort of, I think, by some considered by a relic, but by others considered no, an absolute necessity to keep stability, to keep that deep rudder in a very, very turbulent sea. And how she'll get along with Prince Charles, I mean, it's going to be fascinating to watch. But she certainly came out swinging, didn't she?
Mm-hmm. Dr. Tobler, the transgender LGBTQ movement has been very aggressive lately in trying to, in effect, normalize the sterilization, basically, in some cases, of minor children who feel that they are in the wrong sex. The California legislature just passed a bill called SB 107 that allows every parent in every state to be able to bring their children to California in order to get hormone blockers and surgery for their minor children. And even parents don't even live in California, but they can take their children to California to get these life-changing surgeries. What's your thought about that as a physician?
I am look. I mean, as a policy matter, I am just horrified by it, because, as you know, I'm horrified by what I think is experimenting on a whole generation of our children who clearly have developed I can think of no other word but a sociogenic illness, right? I mean, there's certainly. It's a diagnosable illness, gender dysphoria, and we believe that the numbers would suggest that well over 50%, probably closer to 80%, of these kids, while they may have some question about if they're in the right body, who am I, should I get it, that all evaporates if just treated with psychotherapy, maybe some medications, in at least probably 3/4 to maybe 80% of them. And to be experimenting, and now for the state to be getting in the, allowing this and not protecting children. I thought the state was there to protect against harm. And we rail all the time about how there's no law and order in this country. There's no borders. The government has been just lax in that. Well, that's all about the safety of the electorate, of the public. Well, what about the safety of defenseless children? And if that means defending them from idiot parents who are pulling this nonsense on them, I would like to see that, frankly. I mean, I think the state has an interest in that. So we're going to have to see where this goes. But this just reminds me of Tuskegee, this whole thing that's going on now. And we all know how horrid that was, another black mark on America's history. It's just absolutely, to me, indefensible. But yet all of the major medical organizations are endorsing it. And that's what's driving these kinds of public policies. I hate to see it.
Dr. Tobler, another realm where the national corporate medical complex seems to have failed us was in telling us everything we should have been told about the COVID-19 pandemic. And I stumbled across, you may have this piled up around you and at your office and home, but I don't. I stumbled across an article in the Journal of Infectious Diseases. You probably read that every day, I bet.
Oh, and twice or 3 times a day. Yeah, right.
So, Dr. Tobler, I found this fascinating article in one of my email distribution lists I receive. And the title of the article is Human Rhinovirus Infection Blocks Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2 Replication. And the subtext is, well, this may help explain why the modelers were so wrong about schools contributing to COVID spread. So basically, Doc, in sum and substance, the common cold may be a blocker to COVID-19. And if that's true, why weren't we studying this and disseminating this more broadly? Because if that is true, kids really weren't going to be affected by, number one, they weren't, kind of in the first place, just by their age and their health and all that. But it seems like the common cold may be, according to this early study out of the Infectious Disease Journal, it may be a blocker to COVID-19. So, Doc, how about telling us all of the data and science, not just picking and choosing what you want to tell us so you can exert some kind of government mind control over us?
Yeah, well, this is another one of those things where science evolves and, serendipitous observations are tested and then tested again, and models, first of all, mathematical models and observational models turn into experimental models. But it appears as though the rhinovirus, which is like the most common, just a common cold virus, triggers basically a response that produces interferon. We've all heard about interferon. It's basically a nonspecific antiviral that our body makes that probably has, if you get a rhinovirus infection, potentially, at least this theory is saying that this interferon may block some of the ability of this the new novel, coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, from reproducing as effectively. That's what interferons do. They tend to interfere with viral replication, just in a generic way. So it's fascinating to see this. Look, the good Lord made us so complex that I don't care, the smartest person in the world or people in the world are never going to figure it out to our satisfaction, and we're learning all the time. And our immune system is just a wonderfully, beautifully protective thing. And now it looks as though there may be, and this is sort of an initial report, there's some mathematical simulations and others that they're talking about, that may have sort of a population-wide effect. And who knows, maybe this is going to really help. There were some initial studies earlier that suggested things like this, sort of observational studies, but now it may actually come to pass that that's the case. Not that everyone should go around having someone who has a cold sneeze on them or, shake hands and pick your nose. That's not what I'm saying there. But there may be some. And kids, after all, get these viruses more commonly
10
because
seconds.
of the way they live.
Dr. Annie Toller, thank you so much. We'll be listening to your show on Saturday morning. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Let's face it, food shortages are a real threat now. Supply chain breakdowns, inflation, fuel prices, global conflicts, fertilizer cutbacks, farmers being encouraged not to plant. The stage is set for the peanut butter to hit the fan. But for some reason, Americans are still in denial about food shortages. Listen, we don't take risks with other things in our lives, so why take risks with your food security? Those who know what's coming are using today to prepare. Millions of Americans have purchased ready-hour emergency food from My Patriot Supply, the brand people look for when they're ready for real preparedness. MyPatriotSupply.com is America's largest preparedness company. Get stocked up on emergency food that lasts up to 25 years in storage to get you through tough times ahead. Your other choice is to stand in government food lines, hoping for a handout. As we both know, that's not an option. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com right now. MyPatriotSupply.com.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. 800-764-2179. That's 800-764-2179.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting.
We have some very important news. Buckingham Palace has just announced that Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II has died. She was 96 years old. The Queen died just a few moments ago, the announcements at Balmoral.
Sky News correspondent Dermot Murnaghan in London with the announcement that Queen Elizabeth II's 70-year reign ended today. Her son Prince Charles becomes King Charles III. British Prime Minister Liz Truss says the country must rally around the new head of the monarchy.
We offer him our loyalty and devotion, just as his mother devoted so much to so many for so long. The passing of the second Elizabethan age, we usher in a new era in the magnificent history of our great country.
She ended her comments at 10 Downing Street with the words, "God save the King." Mortgage rates are higher than they've been since the Great Recession. Correspondent Rita Foley reports.
Mortgage rates jumped again this week, hitting the highest levels in almost 14 years. The 30-year rate jumped to almost 5.9%. That's the highest it's been since November of 2008, just after the housing market collapse set off the Great Recession. A year ago, it was about 2.9%. The average rate on 15-year fixed-rate mortgages is up to almost 5.2%. Those mortgages are popular with those who want to refinance their homes. Many potential home buyers are getting pushed out of the market as the higher rates add hundreds of dollars to monthly mortgage payments. I'm Rita Foley.
On Wall Street, the Dow up by 193 points, the Nasdaq rose 70, the S&P 500 advanced 26. More on these stories at townhall.com.
My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance. For your free quote, call SelectQuote at 1-800-940-6161. That's 1-800-940-6161. Or go to SelectQuote.com. That's 1-800-940-6161. SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at selectquote.com/commercials.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Support is sponsored by Stand Up to Cancer. Stand Up to Cancer, a groundbreaking initiative created to accelerate innovative cancer research that will get new therapies to patients quickly and save lives. Visit standuptocancer.org. Slow traffic eastbound 270 from Lindbergh to New Florissant. Your jam westbound 70, Highway 94 to Cave Springs while they wrap up road work from the left lane. And then an accident westbound 70 east of Lake St. Louis. It's on the right shoulder. Eastbound 70 downtown, already on the brakes from Salisbury to the Illinois Bank of the Musial Veterans Bridge, the right lane down east of the bridge. Westbound 64, slow Kings Highway to Clayton Skinker, heavy westbound 4064 from 364 to I-70. Bumper to bumper southbound 55, Lafayette to Potomac, and construction westbound 64 at Illinois 161. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. A nice night tonight. Low down to 62. Not too humid for Friday, but warm, sunny, and 85 for the high. Now, Saturday's a little more humid, 82 for the high. There's a rain chance, about a 30% chance in the afternoon to early evening for an isolated thundershower. Sunday, 50% chance for a few showers. It's going to be humid and a much cooler day, though, with lots of cloud cover and a high of just 74 for Sunday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by All Solutions Pest Control, 636-486-7888, or visit them at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Hey, this is Chris Arps telling you about my friends over at the Dental Link, a state-of-the-art facility offering a full range of dental services, including cosmetic and implant dentistry. You know, this is the spice latte season, and, you know, that means the holidays are coming up, and a lot of times people want to lose a few weight for the holidays, or other people go to the dentist to fix their smile. If that's something that is interested in you and you're looking at many implants and you're missing one or more teeth or suffer from loose dentures, many dental implants might be the solution for you. Many dental implants are less invasive, less painful, and your recovery time is much shorter. Plus, best of all, the cost to you is much less than with older, more traditional dental implants. 2 convenient locations in Baldwin and Melville. Call the Dental Link today at 314-794-6464. That's 314-794-6464, thedentallink.com.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
I don't believe the Democrats are stupid, but I think they don't care.
Live and local.
And embarrass himself at that press conference. He's become kind of clownish, right?
Do you think he's going to run?
This is News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here? As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
As a New Yorker, for the most part, pertaining to law and order and issues of the country nationally, I believe the Republicans are better. Why? As a New Yorker that lived in New York from Mayor Koch through Mayor Bloomberg, Democrats, and particularly these days, in all honesty, as a black man telling the truth, Democratic mayors that's black, whether they male or female, Democratic police commissioners that's black, male or female, Democratic cities, they're run into the ground.
And as a fellow black man, I think he's telling the truth as well. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arp Show. Hour number 2, it is 4:07. In studio with me is Katie Fitzpatrick, our wonderful executive producer who keeps the train running on time here. And my partner who is in, hey, Tim, what is the nickname city for Indianapolis? Do they have one?
That's a great question. I'm going to have to look that up.
I was going to say you're in the such and such city, but I don't know.
That's a good question. They so the Indianapolis Colts, of course, make their home here, and I am a stone's throw from Lucas Oil Stadium, which is a beautiful,
it is
very, very different looking stadium. It looks like a giant, like an old brownstone building, like on steroids. It looks huge, but it's a stadium. It's so odd. And they also have, Chris, they have a AAA minor league baseball team here, and that's on the other side of the hotel. I'm in the Marriott, and they have a nice little riverfront here, and Indiana University has some facilities downtown. The state capitol is here in their major city, in their capital city, and Indianapolis, I'll tell you what, I know you played that clip there, and I agree with that, gentleman. The urban areas run by Democrats are generally disaster across this country, but Indianapolis may be one of the few anomalies of inner urban America that's actually been quite revitalized over the last couple of decades.
I've got the nicknames.
Oh, what is it?
Two of the city's nicknames reflects its historic ties to transportation. The Crossroads of America and Railroad City.
Railroad City. I think I like that one better than the Crossroads of America.
I like Railroad City.
That's just corny. Oh, yeah, I like that one. But the other one, the Crossroads of America, is kind of corny.
The Crossroads of America.
That sounds so Madison Avenue. Someone came up with that. The Crossroads of America.
Yeah, it sounds like a PBS commercial or something.
Oh, tell you.
There is a massive rail yard on the way into town that you roll past after you get off of Interstate 70. I'll tell you what, it's an easy drive over here.
It is.
Nice.
You do have to cross the width of the People's Republic of Illinois, but once you get out of that horrid state, you're back in the free state of Indiana, and it's an easy drive. It's from downtown St. Louis, it's barely 3.5 hours, and not sure why we don't come over here more often. It's a great place to visit.
People don't realize that Indianapolis is so close, and when Becky and I drive to New York to visit her sister and our brother-in-law, we go through Indianapolis, and there's been a couple of times that we've passed through the last week of May, that Sunday, and you know what that is. That's in Indianapolis 500, and you pass by the track, and you pass by the Lucas Oil Stadium. Indianapolis is a really growing city. St. Louis could take a lot of notes on how to revitalize a Rust Belt old city and make it vibrant, where, you know what, Tim, they have conferences there that people actually travel to and spend money and get to see the city. Think about it. When's the last time that there has been a major conference here in St. Louis that's been announced?
I don't know, Chris. And in fact, it's funny you bring that up. So not only is this group of Republican statewide legislative leaders here, there is a massive group of the National Council of American Electric Co-ops. So like, Missouri has an electric co-op association and Indiana has an electric anyway. So this is like the National Co-op Association. There are hundreds, if not thousands of people here running around with little co-op badges on. I mean, you're right. This hotel I'm in, we were sitting down downstairs. A friend of mine, we're doing some work early this morning, answering emails and things. The traffic jam getting in and out of this freaking hotel with the people coming and going and the Uber drivers and everything else. I'm like, yeah, as Chris Arps just said, St. Louis could take a lesson from its neighbor to the east here. It really could.
Yeah. And, I've got a couple of memories there in Indianapolis. A few years ago, my late friend Sherman Parker and another friend of ours were traveling to D.C., and we stopped Indianapolis for the night. And I saw, okay, this is before your time, but I saw Dougie Fresh and the late Biz Marquis at a concert in Indianapolis. And it was this thing that if you signed up for something, you got like in the mail a carton of cigarettes. The cigarette company was promoting the concert.
smokes.
So you get a
No
carton
pun
of
intended.
cigarettes. Tim, coming into this segment, we talked about crime. We heard that clip from the New York Democrat talking about how bad crime is, and Republicans are better at it. There's a peculiar crime that has happened out in Las Vegas. I don't know how close that you guys are following this. A reporter was slain outside of his home over the weekend. Before we get to more details, Tim, as a public official, you took a lot of abuse from the newspaper, from citizens, from Democrats.
Still do.
And I'm sure you get exactly. And I'm sure you've gotten pretty angry. How angry have you gotten, particularly at a reporter when you were in office and taking slings and arrows?
I probably sent I probably channeled my inner Trump before there was Trump, and I sent some mean tweets or something their way. But, nothing, I get it. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times I actually got into a verbal argument with a reporter. Usually, Chris, that I was taught at a very young political age, don't pick too many fights with people who buy ink by the
That's
barrel.
correct. Correct.
Yeah.
So did you ever, when someone wrote something bad about Speaker Tim Jones, did you ever have murder in your heart? Did you ever think, I want to go kill this person? Literally, not figuratively, but literally.
I shall categorically deny that I ever had murder on my mind. I unequivocally state that I never did. No, Chris, of course not. I mean, no, never even crossed my mind.
Never have I ever.
I am going somewhere with this. I know you guys are like, where are you going with this, dude? Well, speaking of this slain reporter's murder on Sunday, this last weekend, they have a suspect in the murder of this reporter. And let me read you this from the PBS NewsHour, actually. The Las Vegas Sheriff's Office said Thursday that an arrested public official's DNA was found at the site of an investigative reporter slain. The Las Vegas area elected public official was arrested Wednesday as the suspect in the fatal stabbing of the veteran newspaper reporter whose investigations of the official's work preceded his primary loss in June. So you've never gotten that angry where you want to go there and take care of business like that?
This is an unbelievable
story.
Can
you believe that?
And I hate to make this point, but this lawmaker, did you mention he's a Democrat?
Yes.
Lawmaker?
Yeah. Tim, now, our Democratic listeners out there are saying, Tim, now what difference does that make? I'm just saying as devil's advocate.
It's going to get very short shrift in the media. Even though, unfortunately and horrifically, a member of the media was killed because this was a Democrat. I mean, Chris, they're going to report this and then they're going to move on. I mean, the amount of whataboutism that Democrats versus Republicans are treated, even in the case of freaking murder, is unbelievable. It's just this is a horrific story. And if this was a Republican lawmaker, this would be a national story for the next 7 days.
And of course, we don't want to give out crime tips or anything and make light of this situation at all. Of course, this is terrible that this reporter's lost his life and his family is in mourning. But apparently the suspect, they found him, also the DNA, of course, match. But they found that he had a particular pair of shoes. The pattern matched the crime scene. And he had a distinctive straw hat at his home that matched those of the suspect captured on video. This guy's name is Rob Tellis. He's a Democrat. He was taken into custody at his home by police SWAT officers hours after investigators served a search warrant and confiscated vehicles in the criminal probe of the killing of the Las Vegas Review-Journal reporter Jeff Sherman. I mean, look, when you're in Tim, you're an elected official in the public eye. I've just been in the public eye just from being a political analyst and other things. So you've taken a lot more slings and arrows than I ever had. But boy, and it says here that he was being investigated. But wow, I mean, you would think that, dude, you're going to be, if something ever happens to this guy, you're going to be suspect number one.
Yeah, I know that murder and mayhem have been around on this planet since Cain and Abel, but Chris, it sure seems like there has been an excess of brutality and depravity that have been reported across this country. I mean, the string of brutal killings in Memphis over the last few days, this story out of Las Vegas, the tragedy TV, radio, and print. I mean, it's just, I think people, I don't know. It seems like our nation has lost quite a bit of its soul in this day and age. And I wonder if part of it is due to what we just went through with this pandemic, where people were locked up and locked down and locked out for 2.5 years. I really feel like the human, like our very psyche has been damaged in this nation, and we need some healing, man. We really do.
Most definitely. More details here. Tellis, 45, had been a focus of Germans reporting about turmoil, including complaints of administrative bullying, favoritism, and Tellis' relationship with a subordinate staffer. It's always a woman involved. I hate to put it like that, but there's always a woman
when there's
involved.
like promiscuous behavior happening, that feels like it's something that propels people to get real crazy. It
says Tellis was also upset about, quote, additional reporting that was pending. Oh
boy, there's more coming.
So a big bombshell was about to come out, and so he decided to go kill the guy instead of the story being.
Good God.
It's like, don't you know that the guy has like a hard drive
that's backed up
somewhere, so that if you kill him, you're not
even
going to
a
get
rough
rid of the
draft.
story.
Like your rough draft is probably already sent to supervision to look over it.
Yeah.
It's already sent out to people to look over and advise what could be changed.
Sam, put your attorney hat here on. Would this be first degree, second degree murder? This kind of sounds like a crime of passion to get so upset over a news story and so upset that a pending story has come out that could damage you anymore that you go over and kill the guy. Can that be first degree murder? Is that premeditated?
I mean, if there is any kind of methodology proven here, like, if this was a series of events and there was a back and forth between these two that was known and that can be proven and can be traced, and if this person thought about this and stewed over this and planned this out, then you've probably got I don't know the laws of the state of Nevada on homicide, but it sounds like you may have a arguable case of first degree premeditated murder here.
Yeah, this says here also the brief video of a possible suspect walking on a sidewalk clad in bright orange construction attire, and it distributed a photo of a distinctive red or maroon GMC Yukon Denali. So this guy, I think, was so blinded with hatred and anger and was worrying about his future that he didn't put a lot of thought into trying to conceal the crime. And thank God for that. He's in custody. And of course, we have to say alleged killer. He gets his day in court. But yeah, this is really sad when people and we have our due with reporters. We don't think they're fair. Most of us think they have a leftist bent. But a reporter doesn't deserve to lose his life for doing his job. And in this case, shining sunlight on probable corruption. He loses his job. This is a sad situation.
Chris, I wonder if the alleged defendant, and I'm just throwing this out there speculatively wise, but I wonder if something happened mental breakdown wise, because here you have a person who they're an elected official, right? So they've had a certain amount of success in life.
Tim, you sound like a defense attorney.
Well, I'm trying to. Well, I'm saying knowing that you're not going to make the problem better, right? You're not going to cure the problem by which you're complaining of, and you're going to make your life situation a million times worse. You wonder if something snapped in this guy's head and he went nutso. I don't know. It just doesn't seem a lot here does not add up.
I agree with you,
illness.
my friend. When we come back, we'll have Jim Carafano from the Heritage Foundation's Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy. We'll talk about the war in Ukraine, and we'll talk about the very interesting article that Jim wrote that I found on his LinkedIn page today regarding World War II. Come back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome.
With your first alert forecast, a nice night tonight. Low down to 62, not too humid for Friday, but warm, sunny, and 85 for the high. Now, Saturday's a little more humid, 82 for the high. There's a rain chance, about a 30% chance in the afternoon to early evening for an isolated thundershower. Sunday, 50% chance for a few showers. It's going to be humid and a much cooler day, though, with lots of cloud cover and a high of just 74 for Sunday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Unbound.org. Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at Unbound.org. Bumper to bumper southbound 55 between the Poplar Street Bridge and Potomac. That's where there was a stall blocking the right lane. You're picking up volume westbound 44 at Big Bend. Construction westbound 64 at Illinois 161 causing a jam. Stop and go westbound 64 Kings Highway to McCausland, and heavy westbound 4064 from 364 to I-70. Accident blocking the left lane westbound 70 west of Jennings Station. Westbound 70 backs up again between Highway 94 and Cave Springs. A solid jam eastbound 70 from Grand to the Illinois Bank of the Museo Veterans Bridge. The right lane is closed east of the bridge. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic
The
Center.
news and talk that matters to St. Louis.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent extremism.
The soul of America.
News, analysis, opinion.
Is not the ruling class in Washington.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Hey, folks, Tim Jones here for Jones Air and Water, one of our favorite sponsors that is definitely approved by you homeowners. I'm proud to report that Jones Air and Water has received the Angie, formerly known as Angie's List, 2021 Super Service Award. What does that mean? Well, Angie hands that out only to folks, businesses that achieve and maintain a superior service rating on Angie throughout an entire year as determined by you, the homeowner. Why do I tell you all that? Well, you can trust Jones Air and Water, Everett, Austin Jones, and the entire gang over at Jones Air and Water to provide superior service to you. For what, you may ask? Well, how about in air and water treatment products and services to enhance easy living in your home and small businesses? They've got everything to make your air and water cleaner and better in your homes and, yes, in your businesses as well. Purification systems, humidifiers, dehumidifiers, water softeners, water purification. We've got some of those water purification systems that we use every day down here at News Talk STL. We've got one here on premises, and I've got one in the Jones home in Eureka as well. It's fantastic water. The WOW water system is indeed. Everett can take care of your swimming pools before the end of the season with the Echo Smart Pool System that can clean your pools without nasty chemicals like chlorine or even salt. His systems are salt-free, chlorine-free, and acid-free. The whole home dehumidifier is a great way to take humidity out of your homes. We have lots of that here in Missouri. and allow you to turn your thermostats up and save energy and save money as well. Over 25 years in the business, a multitude of 5-star ratings. I just told you about the Angie List Award as well. It is a fantastic service provider, and they can bring pure, cleaner air and water into your home as well. You can be a filter or buy a filter. Check them out 24/7. JonesWater.com. That's JonesWater.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Columbo here for Agers Heating and Air Conditioning. Putting an Agers system in our new home was our number one priority because Agers' number one priority is doing right by the customer. St. Louis weather is unpredictable, but no matter what's happening outside, having a new HVAC system from Agers will ensure your family is safe and comfortable inside. Whether you need repairs or replacement, Agers has you covered with the clarity and attention to detail your home deserves. Contact Agers now at 636-242-6515 or through their website, callagers.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Fox News commentary.
Crooked Hillary is lying again. I'm Tommy Lahren. Find out her latest lie next.
The dollar is in grave danger as Russia and China recruit more nations into their anti-dollar alliance known as BRICS. If this continues, how much longer until the dollar is worthless? Stephen K. Bannon here. I urge you to get Birch Gold's free info kit on sheltering your savings with a gold IRA. To get your free copy, text the word shelter to 989898. With inflation continuing to explode, it's critical you take action today. Text shelter to 989898 right now.
Hillary Clinton is known for a lot of things, but telling the truth isn't one of them. Earlier this week, she fed us yet another bald-faced lie when she tweeted her private server housed in her bathroom closet contained 0 classified emails. Well, actually, Hillary, according to a 2018 Department of Justice Inspector General's report, 81 email chains containing approximately 193 individual emails that were classified from the confidential to top secret levels were found. So yes, Hillary, there is a Clinton standard, and it's a double standard. And I don't know what's more insulting, the fact that she had all those classified emails on her private server, or that she now wants us to believe her demonstrably false claim she had 0. Hillary Clinton is like a bad holiday fruitcake. Just when we think she's taken herself off the table, she keeps coming back around. I don't know if she has 2024 hopes or she's just trolling us with her nonsense lies, but either way, I say, go away, Hillary. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can listen to all of my hot takes at foxnewscommentary.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Saying MAGA Republicans or this Republic, 60 to 70% of Republicans believe that Donald Trump is the leader of their party. And so if you are saying that he is a fascist what are they? If you are saying that he is a white supremacist, what are they? If you are saying that he is a racist, what are they? Because if you follow someone that has hate in their heart, and I believe that he does, then you are complicit in that. And you don't get a pass on it. You do not get a pass.
And welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. It is 4:30. Our next guest is a world expert on the military and all things history. We're going to see what his definition of what a fascist is. We have one of our favorite guests on the line, Jim Carafano of the Heritage Foundation. He's Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy.
What the Democrats have, it's not a partisan comment, it's just a fact. What they've always done is for 15 years now, they've tied any immigration reform to amnesty.
Wild man Jim Carafano. No politics, just policy.
They won't deal with the problem that their policies are tantamount to open borders.
It's not just a catchphrase that he is the international man of mystery.
And as he joins us every Thursday, Jim Carafano. Jim, my partner Tim Jones is in Indianapolis, but he is joining us as well. We heard Maud Behar there say that 70% of Republicans are fascists. Jim, you've studied world history and these type of leaders. What is a fascist, first of all?
So a fascist, a communist, whatever. It's people that don't believe in the principle that sovereignty is resided in the people, and that the people get to decide how they're governed, who governs them, and the decisions that they make. That you asking me that question on the day that the British Queen died, and which I've been talking about all day, and why do Americans revere the Queen of Great Britain? It's not because we all watch The Crown. It's people have to understand is America was this country that was created on why we're the exceptional nations, not because we have better basketball players or anything. We were the first formal government that said sovereignty is not in some individual or in some class of people. It is in the people themselves. The people are sovereign. It's their country. They get to decide its future. And over years, the British Constitution actually evolved to mirror the American system. And by the time Queen Elizabeth came to power, people didn't understand what she represented. The British monarch is not a figurehead or an anachronism or something. The British monarch exists as the expression of the embodiment of that the sovereign people are the people themselves, and the monarch is their greatest defender, advocate, supporter. And the monarch is a symbol in the sense that they are the true selfless servant. So the monarch is a servant, and actually this is one area in which I think The Crown's actually, the TV series, is actually quite good. The monarch is the servant of the people. She's not their leader. She's not their commander. She is the embodiment, the exemplar of what it means to be a citizen, that the crown is the servant of all the people of Great Britain. And so she is not just a symbol of British liberty and freedom, but really the concept that we embody in the American Constitution, this notion of popular sovereignty. And so we mourn her death today because she's a living, and her life and decades are a living embodiment of what it means for freedom and liberty. And so when somebody says, what's the fascist? My answer is, well, it's not that. A fascist are people who are going to tell everybody else what to do. And this name calling is literally appalling. And we just had actually hosted a group of foreign dignitaries here, and one of them, literally they were like, we are ashamed of America because you're yelling at each other and talking to each other like this. And what we really need you to be doing is being the America we love, which is standing in the free world and dealing with China and these other things. And instead you're running around and calling each other these ridiculous names. It's just nonsense. And here's the look. It's the difference in the way we do things. Look, and it's not meant to be, but this is the culture of the left, which is this slash and burn demonization of the other side. demonizing the other, which is ironic because the whole idea of fascism and imperialism and colonialism and all these other isms is the creation of a forced identity, which is built in large part on demonizing the others. Because once you've demonized the other side, argument becomes impossible. Different views become impossible because it's the expression that only I have the right view. And so essentially to call us racists or fascists or other things is, essentially they're putting on that moniker. They're adopting this thing of, and this is the problem with critical race theory. This is a problem with anti-racism. They're not anti-racist. They're not being critical of. They are the ultimate expression of using words and power to disembowel and you cannot argue with me, because if you argue with me, you're evil. That's what a racist is. And when somebody calls you a fascist, that's what they're doing.
Jim, to say that the last 48 hours in the United Kingdom have been momentous would be perhaps one of the largest understatements of the last few years. In the space of 48 hours, Jim, the United Kingdom has selected a brand new prime minister, and she seems to be taking to the job rather briskly, as they might say in Britain, and rather conservatively, at least at the outset. And for the first time in 70 plus years, the United Kingdom will have a king Charles. Jim, what does that mean for the United Kingdom and also for us here in the United States of America to have a King Charles take the helm with a brand new Prime Minister, Liz Truss?
Well, we'll see how good a king is. But to me, the two things, one is this reminder in the life and legacy of the Queen of the value of liberty and the value of selfless service to nation. That to me is a powerful reminder, like for Americans, like, dude, that's who we should be. The other is you're right. I think in Liz Truss, we have potentially the next Maggie Thatcher, a leader of character. I mean, to your point, one of the first things she did walking in on day one was they withdrew the ban on fracking, right? Saying, yeah, nothing wrong with producing gas and oil. Actually, it's a good idea. We should do that. These are brave, strong decisions. So I think the reality is as I'm ashamed to say this, but both in the legacy of the Queen and the exemplar of Liz Truss, we have an expression of what American leadership should be, and that we may be looking there, rather than in the White House for the kind of leader we ought to have. And look, I don't mean to be intentionally critical of Joe Biden, but politics ends at the water's edge, not for Joe Biden. Foreign policy for him is just an extension of his domestic politics, which is our purpose of government is not to use government to advance our politics worldwide. The purpose of government is to serve the American people. So when I criticize Joe Biden for not being worthy of the office and not half reflecting the character that we see in the Queen and Mrs. Truss, it's because that's what he's done. It's not me name throwing at him. I wasn't the one that told him to act that way.
Jim, two quick questions for you. You are the E.W. Richardson Fellow at the Heritage Foundation. One, who is E.W. Richardson? Second, talk about your new article that you posted on Substack with a very interesting title, Was World War II Woke Enough?
Right. Well, they kind of go together because E.W. Richardson was, he's passed now, but he was a 21-year-old kid from Texas, who'd never been anywhere but Texas, who for 2 years piloted a B-26 bomber with, I forget the number of kids in the bomber, like 11 kids. And he was responsible for their lives for 2 years. And he flew an ungodly number of combat missions, was actually shot down and was a prisoner of war. And came back to Texas, was a phenomenally successful businessman. But for him, his life was defined when he was responsible for those 11 lives. And he saw his military service as the by God high point of his life. He made millions of dollars. He had a huge family. He was a powerful figure. He was greatly admired and loved. but for him, the most important days of his life was a 21-year-old kid. So I got 2 pictures of him in my office. I'd be happy to tweet them to you.
Yeah.
And but it's just such an honor to bear that title. But so I wrote this article on Substack. I don't know if, Substack, I don't know if people follow it. It's a cool place because anybody go on there and, kind of say their thing. And so what I've been putting on there is I know so many really smart people. And so I ask them when these things, and then I just put their answers down there. So one of these was this question because, everything is woke now. 1619 Project, America's racist. Everybody's racist. Everything's racist. The Americans were and the British were just as racist as the Nazis and the Japanese in World War II. It was like, is that really true? And so, this article on Substack, just under my name, James Carafano, where I said, well, is this really true? Was the British Empire was an empire, so they were imperialists, they were colonialists. But really, was it all about just race and being systemically evil? And I think the answer is no. It was about people who were imperfect and challenges and everything else. But their ultimate goal, which again this is the expression of the Queen's life, was their ultimate goal was in their imperfect challenge to bring liberty and freedom to the world. And I'm sorry, the goal of critical race theory, the goal of anti-racism, the goal of progressives today is not to bring freedom and liberty and self-governance to every single individual to let them live to the strongest of their identity. It's to dictate to all us how they think the world should be run. So I do think it's important to look back at things like World War II and what were we really fighting for? Because if you read the history books now, they will tell you we were just fighting for imperialist causes and racist submission of other people. Heck no, we weren't. A bunch of Americans, 450,000 who didn't come home because they're dead, fought for an idea that people should get to live their lives the way they're a worthy life, the way it should be led.
Those are the wise words of Jim Carafano, the Heritage Foundation's Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy. Have you gotten a promotion? I think that I usually don't read that. Is that different?
No, it's just I have so many. I'm like like the guy in NASCAR.
Okay.
I'm just covered with passion.
Lots of patches.
I have more titles than anybody else in the Heritage Foundation. In fact, when they designed the calling cards, the business cards, I'm not joking. They designed my first because they figured if we can get all his title on a business card, we can do it for anybody.
Well, congratulations. I'm going to say you're promoted anyway because I don't ever remember reading that. So, Jim, thank you as always
Jim,
for joining us.
It's been on the show sheet for about 6 months. It's been on the show sheet for about 6 months, Jim.
I love him. I love him. Katie just embarrasses me like that, calls me out. Jim, we love each other here and you.
Like all the titles you want. You know what everybody calls me? Like that dude.
That dude. Hey, I like that title. Jim, thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week. And when we come back, we'll talk Chris's Corner. I'm going to talk about the Missouri Right to Life banquet. Tim Tebow was the keynote speaker. I'm going to give some observational thoughts on that. Next hour, of course, at 5:07, we will have the speaker's stump speech. And our old friend Hogan Gidley, director for the Center for Election Integrity and former national press secretary for the Trump campaign, joins us at 5:22. Don't go away. We'll be right back on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Mothers Against Drunk Driving. For victims of drunk and drug driving, your grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call the 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org. Westbound 70 past Jennings Station, a stall blocking the left lane. That's backing up traffic at Florissant Road. Heavy westbound 70 between Lake St. Louis and Route Z. You're crawling eastbound 70 from O'Fallon Park all the way to the Illinois Bank at the Museo Veterans Bridge. Construction in the right lane just east of the bridge. Southbound 55 lines up the Poplar Street Bridge all the way to Potomac. You're slow westbound 44 from Laclede Station to Big Bend. Stop and go westbound 64 Compton to Bellevue. And westbound 4064 jams between Winghaven and I-70. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. A nice night tonight. Low down to 62. Not too humid for Friday, but warm, sunny, and 85 for the high. Now, Saturday's a little more humid, 82 for the high. There is a rain chance, about a 30% chance in the afternoon to early evening for an isolated thundershower. Sunday, 50% chance for a few showers. It's going to be humid and a much cooler day, though, with lots of cloud cover and a high of just 74 for Sunday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Welcome home to St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
The distrust of the federal government is an all-time high.
Executing a search warrant on a former president has never been done before. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Since 2007, the state of Missouri and local governments have handed out almost $5 billion in tax subsidies or abatements to private developers. That money could have gone to basic services like schools and public safety. And studies show these subsidies don't produce the promised jobs and growth. If developers want to build a sports stadium or shopping mall, why should they be given our tax dollars to do it? It's time to reform economic development subsidies. The Show Me message has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I know, Dave, you were on the first day. I remember that.
Good morning and happy anniversary. I'll keep it short. Most of the things I like about the station, you actually take calls. You don't give the number out and then have somebody on hold for 2 hours. Oh, sorry, we couldn't get to your calls. Or you could send me a text. You know what? Why don't you kiss my behind? Happy anniversary. I love the station.
Weekday mornings, 5:30 to 9 on News Talk STL.
In times of economic uncertainty and chaos, your money means nothing. You may not even be able to get it from your bank or ATM. And the money you do have in the stock market will go down and down. What you can bank on is gold and silver. Gold and silver have been a reliable and trusted form of currency for thousands of years. Gold and silver have never been worth zero, and typically gold holds its value during economic turmoil. Call the Gold Hotline now and learn how to protect your money and your assets with gold and silver. And learn how to set up a new IRA or roll over your current one into a gold-backed IRA. Protect your money from the next market crash with gold and silver. Call now for your free gold guide.
800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. 800-281-4224. That's 800-281-4224.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So Mayor Tashara Jones wants to keep on giving away free money. We'll get the update on that program 9:05 Friday with David Stokes from the Show Me Institute.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Democrat who wants people to have health care, a socialist. So I think we do need to be careful with our language, but I think the problem is if you go through the hallmarks of authoritarian regimes, you see too many characteristics, unfortunately, on our Republican side. And my most fervent hope is that Republicans themselves will begin to reject all of that verbally, vocally in their voting and, kind of reconstitute the Republican Party.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. I'd like to ask Hillary, Tim, is it authoritative to want to see babies born and not ripped out of their mother's womb, or having babies being aborted soon after birth? Is that authoritative?
Chris, I could hear my mother right now. If my mom had heard that line from Hillary, she would say something like, "I could just spit nails." That's one of my mom's sayings.
Yeah.
My grandmother used to say that too. I could just spit nails. I mean, Chris, do those people not hear themselves speak? What a bunch of hypocrites. They are the ones that want a bigger and bigger government to tell us what to do every step of our lives, every breath we take, every move we make. Chris, that's the very definition of fascism.
Yeah. Don't get a vaccine? Guess what? You're fired. Don't want to wear a mask? You can't come to work at home. But
Mhm.
we are the authoritarians.
Don't have the kids go to school.
Yeah, but we're the authoritarians. I brought that up, pro-life. As many of you know, yesterday I talked about I was attending the Missouri Right to Life banquet with keynote speaker, football star, and Heisman Trophy winner Tim Tebow. Want to give a couple of my thoughts on last night's banquet and some of the events surrounding it here on Chris's Corner.
Chris.
The whole thing is a joke.
Good God, we got to do something here, people.
It's not personal. It's strictly business.
My favorite black leader of all time is Frederick Douglass, who asked after emancipation, well, we just freed the blacks, now what are we going to do with them? And his answer was, leave us alone.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
Yesterday evening, Becky and I had the distinct honor and pleasure of attending this year's Missouri Right to Life banquet with keynote speaker Tim Tebow. I want to thank publicly Hasha McQueen Kunzel for inviting us to the banquet. We had a great time at our table. The banquet was in St. Charles at the St. Charles Convention Center. And those of you that are familiar with it know that you've got to go by the hotel first before you go in the back where the convention center was. And leading into the driveway into the convention center were, of course, pro-choice activists. And Katie and Tim, this is one of the signs that they held up. They said, quote, "Forcing a woman to have a baby is fascist." Yes, that was one of the signs. One thing, this was a happy, glorious event. Of course, pro-life activists were ecstatic that Roe v. Wade had finally been overturned, that millions of babies would be happy, would be alive, and could fulfill their destiny. Sad thing about that festive atmosphere is that there was heightened security everywhere. There were police escorting us in. There were police around the venue. There were police as you entered the banquet hall. They told us after we registered, do not take off your badges because that identifies you to security. And it kind of makes you wonder, how much did President Biden's recent rhetoric of calling Republicans MAGA Republicans and saying that we're semi-fascist, how much did that have to do with the organizers of this event feeling that they needed to have heightened security at this event? I think that you could say that it probably had something to do with it. When we saw the activists outside with their really hatred slogans, and we see the things that the pro-choice movement has done, firebombing pregnancy resource centers, crazed people plotting plots to kill a Supreme Court justice. There's a lot of hatred. There's a lot of vitriol on that side. And of course, we as Republicans, as pro-life people, could counter that same vitriol and hatred. But one of the themes that I took away last night from Tim Tebow's speech was that even though we're on the opposite sides of this issue, that the folks that were protesting outside and those that were on the opposite side of this pro-life issue, they are not our enemies, and that we are called to love them and hope that they see the light, that these are precious human beings that deserve a chance of life. And one thing that he said that was very interesting to me is he said, maybe one day next year, those same people that are outside protesting may be in here one day. You know, those that aren't familiar with Tim Tebow, he has a very interesting life. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He told the story of his very difficult birth, where his mother's doctors urged her to abort him, that he would probably not be a full functioning baby, that there was no use for him to be alive. And you look what happened with his life. Here's a young man who has given his life to Christ, is very open about that, reached the heights of the college football mountain by winning the Heisman Trophy. He stayed celibate, and he was criticized highly for that until he married his recent wife. And, you know, he's living the All-American dream. And I think you can't help but think that part of the reason that Tim Tebow's having the success he is having is because he's given his life to the Lord, but also maybe he was spared to come into this world to be an inspiration to other mothers that may have a difficult birth, or maybe single mothers, that you never know what this child can grow up to be. You know, we did a Chris's Corner a few months ago about a young man who ended up working in the White House. He was grown. His mother was crack addicted. He flunked grades twice. This young man eventually became the class valedictorian and worked for the president of the United States. So when people try to make that argument that this child is probably going to have a bad life, that they'd be better off aborted, I always point them to the young man that we had, Lucas Boyce, on the show, and you can point to Tim Tebow. All lives are precious, including Black lives and including unborn lives. And that is today's Chris's Corner.
Fantastic indeed, Chris. I always say if the state has no interest in protecting life, then the state really has lost its reason to exist. I mean, if you're not going to protect life, not much else, not many other policy discussions really matter.
Exactly. You can't pursue happiness if you're not alive. I don't know how you do that. When we come back, we'll have, of course, the Speaker's stump speech at 5:07, and Hogan Gidley, our good friend from the Center for Election Integrity, and my fellow Newsmax panelist, joins us on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News.
All comes back to the number one fear, which is running out of money. If you're close or in retirement, you have two big jobs: protect your life savings and create income for retirement. So how do you do that? You call Steve All and the team at the All Financial Group, and you put together a customized, comprehensive plan. Start checking off those boxes for income for life, tax-free retirement, and much more.
Let's sit down and talk about your questions, because I think that's the most important thing that it is out there. It's what questions do you have?
Call today, 636-230-8824. That's 636-230-8824. Or go to yourmoneymattersstl.com.
Investment advisory services offered through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities, licensed in Missouri and Illinois.
Packages start at $29.99 a month with signed agreement. Restrictions apply. Speak to a representative for complete offer details. See Vivint.com for license details. Terms and conditions apply.
Homeowners, if you're looking for the best in home security and smart home technology at a price you can actually afford, we have great news. Now you can get Vivint's award-winning home security systems starting at about $1 a day. U.S. News and World Report has recognized Vivint as the best professionally installed home security system of 2022. And right now, you can get Vivint's home security technology for about $1 a day. Plus, get free professional installation from a licensed technician. Protect your home and loved ones for as low as $1 a day. Call right now for your free home security consultation.
800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. 800-561-3405. That's 800-561-3405.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. Tributes from around the world have been pouring in after the death of Queen Elizabeth II at the age of 96 at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Prime Minister Liz Truss said the country was devastated by the death of the monarch, calling her the rock on which modern Britain was built. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says the Queen was a friend of Congress.
She was the first British monarch ever to address a joint session of Congress. And thanks to her, the special relationship between the United States and the UK gained even more special significance.
King Charles III made his first statement as monarch after the death of his mother, quote, "The death of my beloved mother, Her Majesty the Queen, is a moment of the greatest sadness for me and all members of my family. We mourn profoundly the passing of a cherished sovereign and a much-loved mother," unquote. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy will formally unveil a 4-part commitment to America in Pittsburgh on September 19th. Correspondent Bernie Bennett has more.
When the GOP introduced the contract with America in 1994, Republicans enjoyed massive wins that year and flipped control of the House and Senate. Leader McCarthy's plan will be much smaller. Axios reports that it aims to give Republicans a unified message to run on in the final stretch before November, saying what they're committed to. The platform includes an economy that is strong, focusing on inflation, a nation that is safe, looking at crime and immigration, a future that is free, giving attention to education, and a government that is accountable, including a pledge to ensure safe and fair elections. Bernie Bennett reporting.
A good day on Wall Street as the Dow was up by 193 points. The Nasdaq rose 70, the S&P advanced 26, oil up $1.60 to $83.54 a barrel on the New York Mercantile Exchange. More at townhall.com.
Relief Factor, pain relief that's natural, pain relief that works, and pain relief that attacks the source of the pain. That's the experience of tens of thousands of Americans who are taking Relief Factor right now. See their incredible video endorsements at relieffactor.com and then order your 3-week quick starter pack for just $19.95. That's less than $1 a day. Find out if it can work for you like it works for me by ordering your 3-week quick starter pack today. Relieffactor.com, relieffactor.com. Be the next success story.
There is no country in this world that a black person would rather be. Unless, of course, they grow up in this country.
Uncle Tom 2 from Larry Elder and Justin Malone uncovers the Marxist plot using false racial tension to demoralize America.
They're fed a lie that is so deceptive. They actually believe the opposite of that which is true.
The first act in organizing our people is to let them know who they are.
Uncle Tom 2. Watch on demand or buy the DVD at salemnow.com. salemnow.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
Support is sponsored by the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation. The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at crohnscolitisfoundation.org. Westbound 70 heavy floors at Road to Jennings Station, where they just cleared an earlier stall from the left lane. Slow again westbound 70 at Route K and Lake St. Louis to Route Z. Eastbound 270 backs up approaching Lindbergh to New Florissant. Jams eastbound 70 Adelaide to the Illinois Bank of the Museo Veterans Bridge. Signals are malfunctioning. Lindbergh at Whitehall Manor. Southbound 170 heavy Delmar 264. Delays westbound 64 Compton to Bellevue. Westbound 4064 heavy between 364 and I-70, a pretty solid backup southbound 55, the Poplar Street Bridge all the way to Bates. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. A nice night tonight. Low down to 62. Not too humid for Friday, but warm, sunny, and 85 for the high. Now, Saturday's a little more humid, 82 for the high. There is a rain chance, about a 30% chance in the afternoon to early evening for an isolated thundershower. Sunday, 50% chance for a few showers. It's going to be humid and a much cooler day, though, with lots of cloud cover and a high of just 74 for Sunday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
No pain, don't find out. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Never paint again with Rhino Shield.
Listen to what a couple of happy customers have to say.
My family's business is over 10,000 square feet, and it did not have the curb appeal I wanted. Our building was really faded. You came out, you gave me all of these options that would fit my building. I don't want to have to paint my building again. 25 years is a long time to not have to worry about the outside maintenance of your building as far as paint. That's a no-brainer. That's why Rhino Shield worked for me.
What a wonderful job they did. It's beautiful. They were very thoughtful, kind, considerate guys. Appreciate all the work that these two young men did.
Call Rhino Shield, 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't paint, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Columbo and Katie, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
So it's been said, but it's worth reiterating, that the governors of Texas and Arizona have created this crisis. And the federal government has not stepped up to assist the District of Columbia. So we, along with our regional partners, will do what we've always done. We'll rise to the occasion. We've learned from border towns like El Paso and Brownsville. And in many ways, the governors of Texas and Arizona have turned us into a border town.
No, I would say, council member of the D.C. City Council, is that President Biden has turned D.C. and New York into border towns because of his open border policies. What say you, Tim?
Yeah, Chris, I mean, the hypocrisy. Once again, this is like Hypocrisy Day on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show.
Exactly.
Once again, Chris, do these people hear themselves talk? I mean, why do they think this is happening? And why, as a union of 50 states, should the governors of Texas and Arizona have to shoulder all of the burden and the pain and the agony of Biden's border crisis when it's not their fault, right? If the governors of Texas and Arizona had their way, I'm sure they would rather that the border would be more secure. And so isn't it rich, Chris, of folks like Mayor Eric Adams and Muriel Bowser and others and other blue state governors and mayors to say, well, we're going to be a sanctuary city until you bring illegal aliens here, and then we don't want to be one anymore.
Yeah, just the hypocrisy is just absolutely glaring. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. I don't know if I said that here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk. In a few minutes, we're going to have the speaker's stump speech, and at 5:22, we'll speak with Hogan Gidley, director for the Center for Election Integrity. And of course, he's the former national press secretary for the Trump campaign. Mr. Speaker, we've had Rebecca holding on for quite a while. Can we get to her and then we'll get to the speaker's stump speech?
Yes, please.
All right. Rebecca, thank you for holding on so long, my friend. How are you? Rebecca?
I hear something on the other end, but
Becky? Rebecca? Oh,
darn.
She held for quite a long time. Rebecca, give us a call back, or anybody wants to talk to us. We'll have a couple of segments after the Hogan Gidley interview. Give us a call at 314-912-1019. If you have any personal stories about the Queen, did you meet her at one time? Did you shake her hand? Did you see her? We'd love to hear those stories. But now we're going to get to the most important speaker's stump speech.
Listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
So that's another reason we need communism.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Well, Chris, the Speaker's Stump Speech today is based upon two items that occurred this week. I've been holding on to this story for a couple of days. It was published by the New York Post on September the 5th, so 3 days ago. And the headline of the story is, of the editorial is, "Get Set for an Ugly 2 Months as Dems Distract Voters from Their Own Disasters." I put that headline up against the story of today of Queen Elizabeth, one of the UK's longest serving monarch of Great Britain, passing away after 70 plus years on the throne. And I think to myself, where have we gone with public discourse in this country? Now, I am no shrinking violet. I know that political speech in this country has been vitriolic and passionate and acerbic from day one, right? For those who say, oh, these are such horrible times for public discourse. Well, just go back and read some of the diatribes and the back and forth between some of our founding fathers and mothers and their political opponents at that time. Go back and read some of the statements about that the founding fathers and mothers made against King George back in the 1770s. And there was definitely some acerbic wit and many would argue wisdom at that time. So I'm not saying that these times are so much worse than any other times in the past. I do believe, though, we're talking about the wrong things. You know, it's one thing to be talking about the right issues and maybe have, you know, a bit of passionate and some might even say vitriolic discourse intermixed in them. But what if we're talking about the wrong things and we're having the wrong kind of discourse? Well, I think that makes it doubly worse. Now, look, I'm sure that if I had had the distinct honor and pleasure of sitting down with Queen Elizabeth II, which I never did, over the course of my lifetime, I probably would have found some disagreements with some of her positions. You know, it's funny, Chris, you look at, if you want to know how ridiculous the world is sometimes, just look at social media. Mm-hmm. And I saw, and a lot of times you see two competing visions of the world on social media, which tends to make you then believe that social media has nothing in common with reality whatsoever. So I see some critics of the Queen on Twitter saying, oh, what an evil tyrant running a racist colonialist country. And then on the other hand, on the other end of the spectrum, I see people saying, how can you say anything nice about Queen Elizabeth? She was the leader of the globalist cabal and of all the wrong military, industrial, and political complexes. So, you know, the truth is probably somewhere more in the middle. But the funny thing is, we don't necessarily know what Queen Elizabeth's positions are on a lot of issues. We can only speculate and guess from some of the comments, the carefully crafted comments she made over the years. As Jim Carafano said, and as I said and agree with, Queen Elizabeth served with lots of grace and dignity. She decided to she left the politics largely to the political leaders. She instead wanted to be the best embodiment and leader of her people that she could be, representing the free and independent people of the United Kingdom. How interesting is it that against the backdrop of the Queen's passing today, we have the rise of another lady leader here in the United Kingdom. Now, Liz Truss may end up being a horrible prime minister. We don't know. She could be a fantastic prime minister. Will she be another Iron Lady? Time will only tell. But she has definitely at least started off on the right foot. And boy, does she sound like a common sense conservative leader that we wish we had right now here in the United States of America. Liz Truss is talking about cutting taxes. Liz Truss is talking about making the UK more energy independent and ending its reliance on foreign fuel and resources from the Middle East and from Russia. Liz Truss is sounding very, dare I say, Trumpian, but she's doing it with all of that grace and that wit and that wisdom that that leaders from the United Kingdom are so well known for. The editorial from the New York Post, once again, says the Democrats are going to get incredibly ugly as they try to distract voters from their own disasters. I completely agree with that. What are they going to do? Talk about their accomplishments? What would those be? passing $7 to $9 trillion of taxpayer-funded spending that was largely borrowed from China and other people that do not have our best interests at heart, setting the United States on an economic disaster path with historic high inflation. We're approaching higher interest rates. We've had skyrocketing prices at the pump. We've had supply chain crisis. We have a massive border crisis. We have a crime crisis. All the things that we talk about over and over and over again. And the reason we do is because nobody in the Democratic Party, who happen to control all the levers of the federal government right now that could make things better, they're making things worse. Or worse yet, they're ignoring these things. Yes, Democrats will likely get ugly as they try to distract all of us from disasters of their own making. I would urge Republicans to point out the disasters the Democrats have created, but also to offer a positive agenda for accomplishment and change. We have learned in the past from both political parties that in times like these, it's not enough to simply say, my opponent is bad, and leave it at that. What you need to say is, I then also have the solutions if you vote for me and my party. I have an agenda that's forward thinking. I have an agenda that says America still is that shining city on the hill, that our best days are yet to come, that we believe in the spirit and the freedom and the independence and the vision of the American people, that government, bigger and more brasher government, does not have all the answers, that perhaps the era of big government, as Bill Clinton once said, needs to be over once again. As Democrats get ugly, let's take a lesson from the passing. Let's take a lesson from the life and times of Queen Elizabeth today. And if they do get ugly, let's us lead and move forward with grace. And that's the stump speech for today.
Excellent stump speech, Mr. Speaker. Excuse me there. You know, last night at the Missouri Right to Life banquet, a lot of people that come on this radio show, on this station were there. Dr. Bob Onder, Senator Bill Eigel was there, a lot of dignitaries and politicos that you know, Tim. Reason I bring that up is you are a subscriber to the Missouri Journal, Missouri Scout, excuse me, which is kind of the gossip rag, I guess, for politicos and political junkies here in Missouri. And Senator Eigel was in today's Missouri Scout. There's a lot of speculation that he's fomenting. I think he's having an event speculating on his future for 2024. That he may run for governor or lieutenant governor. I know that you do some consulting for the 100 PAC, which I think Senator Eigel is involved with. What can you tell us, Mr. Speaker?
Yeah, I can tell you, Chris, that Senator Eigel definitely has larger political ambitions. He wants to continue to serve the people of the state of Missouri in a bigger way. I know that he's definitely looking at a potential statewide run. And I think he's definitely considering governor or one of the other offices that will likely be open in 2024, whether that be lieutenant governor or secretary of state or possibly even some of the others. And, you know, Senator Eigel is an interesting character. He's not afraid to buck his own party. He's not afraid to take on big ideas. He loves to cut taxes, as he often says. He would like to make Missouri the 6th or 7th state for worker freedom. I know he's a big fan of education reform. And, you know, what's interesting about him is he has not been and I don't know that this phrase really works in Missouri anymore because we have term limits. So I'm not sure how much of a career politician you can be in Missouri, but he definitely hasn't been. The first office he ever served in was the state Senate. He'll do 8 years and then term out. And prior to that, he was a successful small business owner. He bought a small business. He built that business up and he sold it, I believe, for a lot more value than what he purchased it for. Before that, he was in the United States Air Force. So he's got a nice resume, and he's signed the back of a check as well as he signed the front of a check as well as the back of a check. He's got real world experiences. And I think he would present an interesting option. His biggest issue, Chris, is likely name ID right now, right? He is rather we know him well, but he's rather fresh and new on the scene, and so he'll need to introduce himself to many, many, many thousands more of Missourians.
You know, that would be a very interesting gubernatorial Republican race between Jay Ashcroft, Mike Kehoe, the current lieutenant governor, and Senator Bill Eigel. One of the speculation within that Missouri Scout article was that if all three of the men did jump in the race, that Jay Ashcroft and Senator Bill Eigel would split the conservative vote, leaving a lane for Mike Kehoe. Is Mike Kehoe considered more not as conservative as those two, Tim?
Yes, Chris, that is the conventional wisdom. The talk amongst the grassroots and the political class in Missouri is that Jay Ashcroft, of course, has very solid conservative credentials. Being the son of John Ashcroft, he has governed as a conservative in the Secretary of State's office. Likewise, Bill Eigel as well is known as a conservative. The American Conservative Union has ranked Bill Eigel year in and year out at the top of the scale as far as conservatives in the General Assembly. Mike Kehoe is known definitely more as a moderate, big fan of the gas tax, ever since I've known him. He was promoting the gas tax, definitely a bit more moderate on labor issues. Former Senator, current Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, known as somebody who thinks that that Republicans can use government to determine certain outcomes and should be much more involved than in people's lives, I think, than Secretary Ashcroft and Senator Eigel do. So I think there would be a contrast there. So I think the Scout article is correct. You'd have two people generally viewed as more conservative versus another person who's generally been conservative, viewed as more moderate. So it would be an interesting matchup indeed.
And even though we have 2022 midterm elections still to get over, it's never too early to talk about 2024. And that's going to be a very interesting Republican primary for governor in a couple of years. Great stump speech, Mr. Speaker. When we come back, we'll have our old friend Hogan Gidley on, director for the Center for Election Integrity, and he's also the former national press secretary for the Trump campaign and Newsmax panelist. We'll be back with him on the Tim Jones.
Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. A nice night tonight. Low down to 62. Not too humid for Friday, but warm, sunny, and 85 for the high. Now, Saturday's a little more humid, 82 for the high. There is a rain chance, about a 30% chance in the afternoon to early evening for an isolated thundershower. Sunday, 50% chance for a few showers. It's going to be humid and a much cooler day, though, with lots of cloud cover and a high of just 74 for Sunday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International. We've all felt the impact of rising food prices. For families in poverty, they're facing malnutrition and even death. You can feed a family for a month with your $50 donation to Compassion International. Just text the word radio to 97646. Bumper to bumper southbound 55 between the Poplar Street Bridge and Bates. Stop and go westbound 44 from Laclede Station to Big Bend. Your jam westbound 64 Compton to McCausland. Westbound 4064 heavy from 364 to I-70. Westbound 70 slow at Jennings Station, again heading through 170. And you have an accident reported on westbound 70 between Route A and US 61. Volume eastbound 270 from Lindbergh to New Florissant. The signals are malfunctioning at Lindbergh and Whitehall Manor. And there's a crash eastbound Page at Woodson. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL.
Selling your St. Louis area home is a big deal. It's one of the biggest financial transactions you will ever make. In St. Louis, call Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. That's Gloria Lou with Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. She'll do a great job for you. Gloria has mastered the home selling process to help you maximize the sale of your home in this crazy seller's market. Why, Miss Lou? Gloria already has the buyers, thousands of them looking for homes in your neighborhood and your price range. Fact is, with Gloria Lou, your home may already be sold. And while most agents make big promises, Gloria will sell your home at the agreed price and time frame, or she will buy it, guaranteed in writing. So please call Gloria Liu today, 314-325-6888, 314-325-6888, or visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com, GloriaHasTheBuyers.com.
Blue Oyster Cult, live in concert. One of the most iconic bands in classic rock. Blue Oyster Cult with special guests Mark Farner's American Band and Head East. Friday, September 16th, 7 p.m. The Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
Get ready, because here they come.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's Beatlemania all over again with the Fab Four, the ultimate tribute to the Beatles. Entertainment Tonight says seeing the Fab Four is just like seeing the Beatles.
Hey Jude.
The Fab Four takes you through the 60s with the music that changed our lives.
Yesterday.
It's a show you won't want to miss.
Saturday, October 1st at the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office, located at the Family Arena or at Ticketmaster.
St. Louis's place to talk.
The American people have further lost faith in our governmental institutions.
People can decide what they want and how they want to live.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
The harmonies. I mean, I don't know that anybody plays instruments like that anymore.
I got a chance to see them and Earth, Wind, and Fire and another group a few years ago. They put on a great show. I tell you who else puts on a great show and who is a fantastic commentator is our good friend Hogan Gidley, who is director for the Center for Election Integrity. He's the former national press secretary for the Trump campaign, and a recent Newsmax voter poll has voted him the most best dressed panelist on Wake Up America on Newsmax. Hogan, how are you?
I don't know how official that vote. There may have been some voter fraud in there. What? I didn't even know that. Is that real?
Yeah, I think that was a press release sent out somewhere. Said this is Hogan Gidley is always a very well dressed man. Now, Hogan, when we do Newsmax, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. So I'm sure you have like some sweatpants on after that. But you always look very nice in your suit and tie there in the morning, sir.
Well, the ballot probably only went to my mom. She's the only one probably watching, making sure that. Sure, no. That's amazing. That's good to know. Thanks for letting me know. Forgive my voice, guys. I'm trying to get over a little illness here. I'm a little still under the weather, but when I got called to do this show, I said, absolutely. I'll show up for those guys anytime.
We appreciate that, Hogan. One of the big stories, of course, is the Mar-a-Lago raid and the revelation that came out Monday that the president allegedly had in his possession nuclear secrets or the capabilities for a foreign nation. Hogan, one thing that is missing from this story, we don't know, is this foreign nation an enemy or an ally? And is it really bad that people know the nuclear capabilities of North Korea? Is that a bad thing?
Well, hold on. First things first, let me just also offer my condolences and best wishes to the folks over in England right now, what they're experiencing with the loss of the Queen. I had a chance to go to Buckingham Palace multiple times with President Trump. I even had a off to the side conversation with now King Charles, who was Prince Charles at the time, about some various media outlets here in Washington, D.C. And so just my thoughts and prayers are for that whole nation. She was absolutely a bulwark and a fixture over there. I think we were all kind of taken aback at how many people truly loved and respected her whenever we talked to folks off to the side, how much of an impact she had on that nation and the world with her leadership. So I just wanted to offer those words. But
Amen.
As far as things here back at home, obviously this whole Mar-a-Lago thing is a complete and utter joke. And as you know, when that story came out, I know the reporter who wrote it, Carol Leonnig over at the Washington Post, and she made the comment, well, we really don't have confirmation, what nation it is. But hey, we know he's got it. I'm telling you, we're going to put this out as a report. We can't confirm what nation it is, but we know he has it. We can confirm that for sure. It's just so interesting that these types of stories are following the similar track of the Russia collusion hoax, where we don't really have the details. We can't really confirm it, but hey, we're going to run it because we're sure it happened. I promise you it happened. Everyone says it happened. This is just so ridiculous that the mainstream media continues to try and peddle us this type of uncorroborated, unsubstantiated information as many times as they've been proven to have lied, as many times as they have been proven to cover things up, and absolutely rush to get something first, just not right. They ought to be a whole lot more cautious on the way they talk about things like this. But as far as the president, the documents he has, he's the president of the United States. He can have and can see any document on the face of the planet. He can declassify. I was with him when he did that on a couple of occasions. So the fact is, this whole thing right now seems like a big fishing expedition, a much ado about nothing, as Donald Trump, it appears at this point, there's a lot still left to be seen and shown. But at this point, Donald Trump really does seem to have the upper hand, as the American people are pretty much sick and tired of the weaponization of the federal government against individuals in this country.
Hogan, Tim Jones here, and want to let you know that through the magic of remote radio, you're in one place today. Chris is in St. Louis. I'm over in Indianapolis, actually, at a Republican Legislative Leaders Conference, a group that I used to participate with when I was in the legislature, and seeing a lot of old friends here, Hogan, from states like Florida and Tennessee and Arizona and Kentucky and Ohio and Pennsylvania, where Republican-led legislatures are doing things like cutting taxes and ending COVID tyranny forever so it never comes back again, and making sure that kids have great public school options, and, so on and so forth. Hogan, unfortunately, I haven't found any good legislative leadership here from the state of California. I think all the Republicans have left that state. But Hogan, the whole country, Hogan, saw this week what happens when you put progressive leftist lunacy on steroids. A state that wants to, ban automobiles and force everyone to drive electric cars now is telling people that, oh, wait a minute, you can have an electric car, but you can't use it because you can't plug it in to recharge it. I mean, Hogan, shouldn't everybody be sitting here going, yes, do not be California? I mean, they are exhibit A for why we should vote for Republican leadership in the states this midterm and not Democratic, don't you think?
Well, again, it seems like this conference you're at for good governance and all these wonderful things, it sounds like it's a bunch of domestic terrorists, according to the White House. So I'd be careful about that if I were you, looking for lower taxes and for secure southern border, obviously energy independence, which is what we're talking about here. Seems like you're a radical, so just be aware of that. They're going to be breathing down your neck and breaking down your door soon enough. But yeah, this whole thing in California is ridiculous. They're having, blackouts they're going to start having, I'm sure, soon. And the very entities you need to charge one of these electric cars, by the governance in California, you couldn't even have the ability to charge it because you'd have to turn off your electricity and you'll have blackouts. Gavin Newsom telling everyone, oh, just cut your temperature up to 78 degrees. That makes a whole lot of sense while I walk around in the fleece and eat dinner at the French Laundry. Give me a break. Everyone understands that we are not capable of running our country, much less the world, on gumdrops, Skittles, and unicorn hair. It's going to take fossil fuels, regardless of what the left says. Just go back and think about in Virginia, when they had that I-95 shut down with all the ice and the snow, people stayed in their cars overnight. Just imagine if those hundreds of thousands of people stranded in the freezing cold were in electric cars. They'd all be dead. Okay? Like, this whole notion that somehow, some way, California is going to force you to have an electric car in a certain time frame. We are generations away from this being a reality. It's cheaper, it's more efficient, it's more effective to run things on fossil fuels. It's cleaner than it's ever been. The United States leads the way in that cleanest of energy possibilities with coal and other things and fracking natural gas. We ought to be taking the world by storm, showing other people how to live as clean as we can. Instead, we have people like Gavin Newsom who force his own citizens to shut off their power and hike up their their thermostats in these hot days. You ever notice how Florida is just as hot? They don't have blackouts. Florida's hotter, for heaven's sakes. So it's a complete and total joke. These wokesters are trying to take over the world in just about every way, but the climate change nonsense has been going on for far too long, and I think they're being called out by their own hypocrisy on this one.
We're speaking with Hogan Gidley, director for the Center for Election Integrity. Hogan, one of your administration colleagues, Steve Bannon, turned himself in today to New York authorities. He's being charged with quote unquote money laundering, dealing with a private effort to build a border wall on the border. The president, Trump, before he left office, pardoned him for something if it was supposed to be a crime. Is this just piling on, Hogan, by the Justice Department?
I have seen some of the things about Steve Bannon, obviously surrendering himself today. Look, it's obvious the DOJ is a political arm of Joe Biden at this point, going after members of the administration, going after the president himself, a former president, potentially a future president, but most definitely a political opponent of the sitting president. So this is another in a long line of instances in which these three-letter agencies, the FBI, the DOJ, the CIA, and others, are so focused on, going after people that disagree with them politically. Steve Bannon, chief among them. I don't know enough about the case to speak about it in particular or in specifics. But what's so frustrating is people across this country have said to me on countless occasions, there's no way the FBI, for example, would be so arrogant, be so stupid to go after these people unless they had stone cold evidence. And I was like, guys, it's not stupidity, it is arrogance. They've been doing this to people for a long time. They never get in trouble for it. They lie before Congress. They lie to FISA courts. They lie on television. They leak things, and they never get held to account. So why in the world wouldn't you think they'd continue the same actions that they've done in the past? This instance right here, obviously Steve Bannon has one thing to say about it. Look, you want to arrest him for not shaving and having a disheveled look, go right ahead. I don't think that's a crime, but you go ahead and do that. But for this other thing, I think only time will tell. But the president's pardon does matter, so we'll wait and see how that all plays out too.
Speaking to Hogan Gidley, director of the Center for Election Integrity, former National Press Secretary for one Donald J. Trump, at J. Hogan Gidley on Twitter. Hogan, with your work with the Center for Election Integrity, I know that you have the opportunity to travel the nation quite a bit. You get to speak to a lot of different policymakers. You get to speak to a lot of different everyday average Americans who are just trying to go about and live their lives. Hogan, it's my sense, and I think a lot of us feel that the Democratic Party is doing its best to shrink itself, to become a party that is focused on special interests, very narrow ones indeed, ones that seem to fly in the face of our foundational principles, whereas the Republican Party seems to be opening its tent and inviting people into it. And we see the results in some of these elections, some of these special elections throughout the year. Mayra Flores in Texas jumps to mind, and so many others all across the land. Hogan, are we imagining that? Is that actually happening? You tell me from some of the polls and from some of the numbers you've seen over the year.
Well, this is such a great point you're making. And I've not thought of it in those terms, but they are doing their best to kind of block other people out, other than that radical base that they're now beholden to. I mean, look, a large majority of the American people don't care about climate change. They don't know what's real, what's not real. I mean, it's infinitesimal at this point. But instead, it's one of the top agenda items for the left, right? Parents are now a constituency mobilized against the left because the left has pushed things like critical race theory in schools, shutting down schools even when there weren't masks needed or vaccines available, et cetera, not to mention the fact many in the education hierarchy are trying to trans our kindergartners without parents knowing. So the Democrats have now alienated parents as well, with their policies on leaving the southern border wide open. Our neighborhoods are less safe. Fentanyl is now the number one killer in this country among young people. And of course, you have countless instances of crimes now at this point, murders, rapes, all up in these cities too, all because of Democrat defund the police policies. What they think, though, with abortion being on demand all the way up until and including after birth, I mean, these policies are so radical. These ideologies are so far out of the mainstream. Here's the problem. They talk about them, though, in an echo chamber with other liberals who believe the same thing. So what they don't understand is when Joe Biden goes out and gives a speech and calls every single American who doesn't agree with every single one of his policies a terrorist and an insurrectionist and someone who's against America, that really goes to mobilize not just the right against Joe Biden, but many of those out there discerning in the middle who believe in, different things at different times. This is the type of behavior that dictators wield on their quote unquote loyal subjects. In this particular instance, when Joe Biden does these things and says these things, he's doing it in an echo chamber. All the left thinks the rest of the world, or rest of the country rather, believes just like they do, and they don't. And so if they don't get out of that myopic thought process, they're going to lose this election in 2022. They're definitely going to lose in 2024. And I'd say far beyond, because if Donald Trump gave us one thing, take away his policies, take away the bills passed and signed, take away the executive orders, he gave us the kind of ability or the okay to stand up and fight back and to grow, this Republican tent. He did that. People are fighting back and saying, you're not going to call us these names anymore. So instead of facing any backlash, they go into the comforting halls of liberalism and continue just to talk to people who only agree with them. That's why they're never going to succeed in this. They haven't addressed the issues that the American people really care about, like I mentioned, with crime, the southern border, taxes, energy independence. And so if they keep doing that, I think they're in for a real hurting politically in 2022. And again, in a few years for the presidential in 24.
And that was Hogan Gidley, director for the Center for Election Integrity. Hogan, when is your next Newsmax appearance?
Well, because I was under the weather, I kind of blew them off this week. But I think next week I got to go work on this clothing thing now. If I want it, I got to defend my title. I got to defend my title.
I was just about to say that I was going to let you. I kind of made that up about the viewer poll. Sorry.
What? I thought for sure I won this thing.
No, but you are very well dressed when we do the panel together. You're a very sharp dressed man there, sir. And we appreciate you always your time coming on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show.
You're grooming yourself for a CNN slot now.
That's a huge insult, and I hope you know that. That was not a compliment.
Yeah. That's great.
Thanks, Hogan. Appreciate your time,
Thanks,
man.
guys. Really appreciate it.
And when we come back, Tim and Katie, I want to talk a little bit about the movie industry, particularly theaters. Are we seeing the end of them? And we'll talk about a story that saw here in the Wall Street Journal. We'll talk about it on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019 94.1 News Talk ST.
Michael's Flooring Outlet Traffic Center.
This report is sponsored by Compassion International. Drought, war, and rising food prices have doubled the number of families facing malnutrition. You can help. $50 provides a food kit to feed a family for a month. Just text the word radio to 97646. Accident westbound 70 between Route A and US 61. Eastbound 70 jams Grand to the Illinois Bank of the Musial Veterans Bridge. Heavy eastbound 270 approaching Lindbergh to New Florissant. Volume southbound 270 Olive to Manchester. A pretty solid backup westbound 64 from Jefferson to Bellevue. Crowded McKnight to 270 and slow westbound 4064 from 364 to I-70. Delays westbound 44 Laclede Station to Big Bend. Southbound 55 stacks up the Poplar Street Bridge to Bates, and an accident northbound 5570 ramp to Illinois 157. I'm Tori Lyons from the News Talk STL Traffic Center.
From the News Talk STL Weather Center.
I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton with your first alert forecast. A nice night tonight. Low down to 62. Not too humid for Friday, but warm, sunny, and 85 for the high. Now, Saturday's a little more humid, 82 for the high. There is a rain chance, about a 30% chance in the afternoon to early evening for an isolated thundershower. Sunday, 50% chance for a few showers. It's going to be humid and a much cooler day, though, with lots of cloud cover and a high of just 74 for Sunday. That's the latest first alert forecast. I'm News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
But I'm not going to turn my dialogue to you guys. I really like this channel.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
Start a podcast for your business today with Epic STL Podcasts. Engage existing and potential customers, build trust in your brand, and drive traffic to your business. Log on to newstalkstl.com and click on the Epic STL Podcast button to learn more.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Jeffrey Toobin is leaving CNN. He's finally retiring after the big Zoom meeting thing. But I didn't realize, Ken, that he was in the Karate Kid. I didn't realize that.
Oh, Jeffrey Toobin?
Yeah.
What did he do?
Wax on.
Wax off.
That's right.
He said it. You got me.
Gotcha. And he said it. I didn't say it. So that's great. So you're in trouble, not me.
Vic Porcelli, weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Are we starting to forget the lessons and the tragedies of 9/11? Well, on Friday's program, we are talking with former Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker about that.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
I don't even know what it was supposed to be.
Old man mask.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Didn't they play that music?
Yes, they did.
Okay.
It was that music, and then it was his whole thing was he was a bald old man with big bulky glasses that danced around like a crazy person, and it was this theme song.
I thought that sounded familiar.
Yes.
Now, Katie, you are our marketing genius. You always say know your audience. What was Six Flags trying to do with that ad campaign with the bald man with the big glasses dancing?
You know what?
What was Explain that to us.
Now, Tim is the Eureka guy, so he might have a better insight on this.
I don't know that I can explain this one.
But to me, I think the entire concept of having that old creepy man was because 20 years later we still remember him and we associate it with Six Flags. I don't think it has anything to do because remember he'd get out of a bus. He'd get out of a bus and he'd be like the tour guide for the kids to go around to Six Flags. And I don't think it had to do with being like, oh, your grandparents would enjoy Six Flags. Or like nothing like that. I think it was because now 20 years later that we remember him.
You may have a point. And I even remember the music.
Yes.
That went with it.
This is a later part of the song.
Oh, okay. I was like, that sounds like Mulder and what's that?
Scully?
Scully and Mulder.
X-Files.
X-Files. You know, I teased it, Tim and Katie, before we went to break about movie theaters in Hollywood. And you guys remember before the pandemic, after the pandemic, the movie business basically ground to a halt when it came to theaters. Nobody went to the theaters. If they did, you had to sit 4 and 5 seats apart. And of course, that wasn't enough people coming in to make those theaters profitable. And so a lot of them lost a lot of money. One of our local theater chains here, Warrenburg, was sold off. There's a story in the Wall Street Journal about the number 2 movie theater in the United States has filed bankruptcy.
Aww.
And part of the reason for that, Katie and Tim, they can't fill seats. Now, this is my question to you guys. Is it because the movies that are out now are just not appealing to people to come to the theaters, or because of the pandemic, people are used to watching movies at home and stuff goes straight to streaming? And are we missing the era of going to the movie theater? Is that a passing thing now?
I think streaming, the minute of its inception to the popularity of it now, if you listen to these Hollywood actors and actresses talk about how streaming has absolutely killed movies in general and movie theaters, their money, the value of a movie, once it started streaming, and maybe Tim, you have a little bit more on this, but once we started the availability of streaming, it demolished movie theaters and I think just movies in general.
So the music industry went through this, right? When we stopped having to buy CDs and everything was available in the ethosphere, right? Where you could just go and literally grab a song. And so they had to get the music industry. I think they've got a handle on it now. Like they've got a new system in place where the artists actually do get paid per download. So there's like a royalty paid, but that took a while to figure all that out. And I think the movie industry is going to do the same. Chris, I also think it's the look, we are animals, we humans, and we are creatures, and we're creatures of habit. And when you tell people they can't go do something for over 2 years, they get out of the habit of going to movie theaters. Plus, not only do they get out of the habit, but then they develop, as Katie just said, new habits. When you can sit at home in the comfort of your Barca Lounger and watch on your 65-inch QLED big screen with surround sound, the same experience, why the heck do you want to go to a dirty, dumpy movie theater and pay $1 zillion and sit there and have to drive home a half an hour? Now, let me now say, I love movie theaters.
Me too.
You got to go to the right ones.
Yes,
right?
you
And
do.
so you got to go to the right ones. They're not all created equal. And we have been to several, and I purposefully try to take the family. I try to suggest to the family that we go to movie theaters every once in a while. And I'm glad that my daughters, who are, in the generation or two, even below our young producer here, I'm glad that they like to go to the movies and have that experience as well. And that's what we're going to have to do if we want these businesses to survive, because it is a cool experience, right? To go and see the big screen as it was meant to be seen. For some of these movies, it's just not the same. I don't care how big your home entertainment center is.
Yeah. And, this is something that generations of Americans have enjoyed, going to the movies. I remember my mom telling me about the Saturday morning experience of going to the movie theater, where you could buy a hot dog, popcorn, a drink, the fare to the ticket price, and it cost you $0.25.
Oh my God! Bring me back to that time.
Remember that, Tim? Did your parents ever talk about that, where you could go to the movie and buy popcorn and snacks and all that stuff, and it's like $0.25?
Jeez.
That's just hard for me to just even fathom that.
I've heard those stories. It's hard to believe them, but I've heard those stories. And, there's a bit of sticker shock nowadays. We did recently go see a movie. What did we see? We saw, the new Thor movie.
Yeah, the new Thor one. Mm-hmm.
My younger daughter is a huge Marvel Avengers fan. And so we went and saw the new Thor movie. And when my wife told me what the tickets cost, I think we spent, they're like $20 a person.
Oh, yeah.
I said,
gosh.
I said, wait a minute. When did that happen? I don't remember it catapulting up to that level. But you know what, though? Went ahead and did it. And because, we go see we don't have time. So we go maybe 2 times a year to see a movie.
Mm-hmm.
If we're lucky, I'd like to go more. But, the girls are in lots of sports and lots of activities. And Suzanne and I work full time. But those are special times for us, when we can take all 4 of us and go see a motion picture.
What are teenagers going to do in the future? I mean, that's what you do. You say, hey, you want to go out on a date this weekend? We'll go to Ponderosa. Then we'll go to the local.
I love Ponderosa.
Are they still around?
No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
They stopped in like 2008 or something. I loved Ponderosa.
Well, Lone Star or somewhere. And hey, let's go to a movie. That whole experience. I mean, people have been doing that since the 40s and 50s of a date and a movie.
And what are you going to do? I remember going to the movies when I was like 13, 14, and 15 before I had a job. And that was one of the only places that my mom was like, I'll drop you off with a bunch of your girlfriends. You can meet up with other people at school, have a good couple of hours together, go to the arcade, watch the movie. But like that was one of the only places that my parents really trusted in the facility for me to stay there and for it to be okay with my group of girlfriends when I was that young.
Yeah, it'll just be really interesting to see. Is this a temporary thing? Will people eventually flock back into the movies? And I think it is. With the story here that I've read, it said there's only 2 big releases for this fall. One is Black Panther, Wakanda Forever. And then there's another big release that's coming out that I can't see it. But there's not a lot of star power, big blockbuster movies coming out. I think that's a big part of it as well. And I hope people don't get away from the movie theater experience. There is nothing like
it's so
going
fun.
to the movies.
It's so fun.
Yeah, Chris, your other point is so valid. They got to put out good product too. And especially look at the competition. We've been talking for weeks about things coming out on Amazon Prime, and HBO Max, all of these big blockbuster items for the small screen.
I mean, I'm going to miss like going to the movie theater and watching 15 minutes of previews. I mean, what am I going to do? I love the 20 minutes of previews.
I do too.
Hey, when we come back, we're going to have a good discussion with you all. And then we're going to speak with Jim Carafano, the Heritage Foundation's Vice President for Foreign and Security Policy. You don't want to go away. We've got a lot of good stuff waiting for you here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Have you been floored? Not until you've gone to Michael's Flooring Outlet. They've been a locally owned and operated family business for more than 28 years. You want variety? Michael's has carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile.